Is Town Creek Indian Mound an undesignated North American sacred site? And should it be? Well, let me first provide a definition of a sacred site. Apparently, the definition of a sacred site is more complicated than one would think. To quote the operational definition of a sacred site is a place in the landscape, occasionally over or underwater, which is especially revered by a people, culture, or cultural group as a focus for spiritual belief and practice, and likely religious observance. That statement turns out to be a baseline description of a sacred site. To be deemed a sacred site, there are qualifiers that include one or more of 19 characteristics. The characteristics fall under the categories of descriptive, spiritual, functional, and other. If you wish to dig deeper on the qualifications of a sacred site, you may visit sacred-land.org. Some example of North American sacred sites are Mount Shasta, the Grand Canyon, Mount Graham, Superstition Mountains, Soldier Mountain, Panther Mountain in the Everglades of Florida, Ocmulgee in Georgia, Monk's Mound in Cahokia, and Pilot Mountain in North Carolina, just to name a few. Town Creek Indian Mound was not listed on that particular site, but I wonder if it should be. Let's look at the history just a little bit. As it pertains to North American archaeological history, Town Creek Indian Mound is seen as a bit of an oddity. For more than half a decade, Town Creek Indian Mound, unlike most other archaeological sites, has been the subject of steady, ongoing research. Typically, a site is investigated for several years and then archaeologists shift their attention to other sites of interest. Town Creek Indian Mound is in North Carolina and has broadened the scientific understanding of the original indigenous population, according to historicsites.nc.gov. Town Creek Indian Mound. According to Shane Williams, the original indigenous population, called the PD Indians, selected the area near Mount Gilead in Montgomery, North Carolina, over 600 years ago. In their chosen location, they developed a place to perform their religious ceremonies and rituals, as well as to discuss politics. One of the earliest types of dead memorials, the earthen mounds of Town Creek Indian Mound, varied in style and size, with some huts being thought to have been occupied by a more elite segment of the culture. The site was regarded as a cultural center for those of the South Appalachian Mississippian culture. When Europeans began arriving in the 18th century, the PD Indians had already moved on, so it is said, possibly joining the Catawba tribe. These indigenous Native Americans were called prehistoric mound builders. They created what is one of the very few still existing earthen mounds, which includes a temple mound and a mortuary. Excavations have taken place on the land, and groundbreaking archaeological techniques have been used to uncover artifacts that have provided an understanding of this prehistoric indigenous population. Revealed artifacts have included clay ornaments, stone tools, pottery sherds, and animal and plant remains. Discovered by archaeologists in the middle of the plaza at the site was a mortuary house, a burial hut, as well as indications of 5 protective walls encasing the site. It has been established that 563 burials have occurred. Some bone remains were found in pottery urns wrapped in deerskin. Town Creek Indian Mound was set aside for scientific discovery by L.D. Fritchie in 1937, while in 1955 the site became a North Carolina State Historic Site. If you wish to learn more about Town Creek Indian Mound, I will be sure to link some resources for your convenience. Now that I have provided you with a little background, I want to share that I became personally interested in Town Creek Indian Mound in the year 2016. Knowing that a site with such rich history was less than a 2-hour drive away was exciting for me. I think that my family's experience was unique based on what the lens of my camera captured. I was very fascinated, and because of that, I often would return once or twice a year to visit and to pay respect to the ancestors of that location. Highly interesting is the information shared on the Town Creek Indian Mound YouTube channel that discusses in greater detail the habits and the practices of this Pee South Appalachian Mississippian culture. Please go and watch their video if you are so inclined. The following pictures are highlights from my visits from the years 2016 to the year 2020. 2020 being the year of the arrival of coronavirus. Thus, we were a little bit limited in what we could do. However, please take a look and make sure that you look out for the orbs, the spheres. That's a key and most interesting experience. Thank you.